At some point, we stopped asking if we were happy and started asking if it looked good. The morning routine, the iced coffee, the gym selfies, the soft life. But here's the question: are we really living our lives or just creating them? Hi everyone, this is your host, Alina Lopez, back with another episode of the Mostly Figuring It Out podcast. Today's episode is titled Romanticizing Your Life versus Actually Living It. Romanticizing your life can be beautiful, but when it becomes performance instead of presence, you actually stop living it. And romanticizing your life sounds harmless. It sounds empowering, but somewhere along the way, it started to feel like pressure. And if you've ever felt exhausted trying to be the main character in your own life, this episode is for you. To start, I want to identify the trend of this phrase, romanticizing your life. If I'm being honest, this phrase is only been relevant or trendy within the past 5 years or decade or so, in my personal opinion. And while I can't pinpoint the specific instance of when I believe this idea became popular, I can identify specific moments in my life to where I started to believe this ideology as well. I say this because it's no secret that, for sure within the past decade, social media has given us a platform to openly share every aspect of our lives. With that presentation of billions of people's lives being broadcasted and shared, it can lead to comparison or even a reflection of unrealistic expectations of what we think life should look like. And don't get me wrong, I believe that social media is a great platform to express yourself and to share things about yourself with the world. But in this instance, I do think that it can strip away the authenticity of what our lives actually look like versus what we create them to look like. And again, as long as social media has been on the rise this past decade, it's no secret that the platform has this opportunity for us to share our lives and to express ourselves within those platforms. But in more recent years, again, I've seen this popularity in romanticizing your life, quote unquote. I feel like before there used to be this push for sharing specific aspects of people's expressions, whether it was sharing a dance video, sharing a funny video, sharing a cooking video, versus now we have taken this shift to portraying or showcasing the inward parts of our lives or the specific day-to-day tasks or just reflections of what our lives look like. And I feel like that wasn't really the trend in social media a couple years ago. And for me personally, off the top of my head, I can personally pinpoint um, when I feel like this started to become a trend. Um, and for me, it was after the coronavirus outbreak in 2020. We were self-isolated and we were stuck on our phones and everyone was stuck inside. And it was this uprising of social media or content creation within the world where everyone had the influence to share everything about their lives. And for me personally, I feel like that's when I can pinpoint this idea of romanticizing your life. But again, that's just my personal experience and my own story of what or how I believe this got started. But now I want to talk about actually what does romanticizing your life really mean? Romanticizing your life means viewing everyday experiences with a sense of appreciation and beauty. It involves shifting your perspective to find joy in the mundane and celebrating the small moments that make life special. Some key concepts are mindfulness and presence, that being present allows you to focus on the current moment rather than rushing through your daily tasks, expressing gratitude and acknowledging and appreciating the simple pleasures in life, such as a warm cup of coffee in the morning. Or it looks like intentional living by creating rituals, establishing routines, or that just bring out the comfort and joy, like lighting a candle or playing soft music or aesthetic music while you're cooking. Lastly, it helps you curate your environment. You can design your personal spaces and make them feel inviting and warm and enhancing. And I can personally say that I've adhered to this belief. I've lit the candle to make my room look more aesthetic. I've journaled for quote unquote self healing, or I've started a workout. But in those things, I had to look at my intentions. Was I lighting a candle to truly feel the warmth or to create an ambiance to project? Was I journaling for self health or was I journaling to take a picture of my journal afterwards and promote this idea that I am helping myself? Or am I working out to actually nourish my body and to grow muscle and all of these things? Or am I working out for validation from other people or validation online or to create this persona that I actually don't adhere to? I started doing things not because they grounded me, but because they looked like I should, whether that was based on what I saw on social media or just a culture presence in general. Romanticizing my life started as mindfulness, but now it feels like I'm branding myself in a sense. Now, what happens when your life doesn't look so aesthetic? You have a messy apartment, you have some off days, you have a boring week, or you have no really big milestone or goals. And somewhere along the way, ordinary started to feel like failure. Now, let's talk about how that happens. The first section I want to talk about is what I would call the aesthetic trap. The quote unquote, the it girl or it boy routines, the 5 a.m. wake ups, productivity content, perfect apartments, matching sets, curated outfits. Everything looks so disciplined, balanced, and glowing, really. Today's algorithms reward aesthetic lives. We compare ourselves subconsciously and we're constantly consuming curated content that doesn't actually portray what day-to-day life looks like. I feel like we've lost touch in what it means to be human and have natural life because we're so stuck on consuming this content that perfectly structures or curates life nowadays, whether that's a routine or a lifestyle or just life in general. We are stuck comparing our day to day authentic lives or our behind the scene moments to somebody's perfectly curated highlight or Instagram reel or TikTok. And while it seems harmless, I feel like this comes with an emotional stake. You feel left behind, you feel lazy, you feel like you're not doing enough, or that your life is not good enough compared to what you're seeing online or in culture. And I think this is a prevalent idea and struggle that young adults face today. That being in your 20s or being a young adult is hard enough. Uprising of social content and reflection of your life or what your life should look like on social media or in culture, it makes it 10 times harder. And while I think it's natural to portray these things and comparison may be a natural thing that we struggle with as humans, I want to shift inwardly and really focus on when self improvement becomes performance. If no one could see this, would I still be doing it? In dissecting when self improvement becomes a performance, that would be the first question I would ask or think about. Some examples include discipline versus performative discipline, private growth versus aesthetic growth, or quiet consistency is less glamorous. Specifically, that can look like posting every reset that you do in your life, announcing every habit, healing publicly, or making your growth visible and you are putting it on display for everyone to see. And I think that those are great things to practice in life. I think it is amazing that we feel this desire to share our lives or to share our self improvement or to share our journeys and things. And that truly is a privilege. The question isn't about whether sharing your life is wrong or not, but the intentions behind what you're doing. Are they really authentic to who you are and who you are portraying to be? With an uprise of influencers in our day to day life, it can be a real problem or a real scare to look at somebody's life online versus meeting them in person. I would hope that their lives would match up to the content that they portray and ask other people to follow. But influencers aside, I would also want to have integrity in my life and the things that I share. Now, what I mean by that is if I'm sharing something about my life, I would hope that I'm truly practicing it and that it's not just a performance or something that I put on or portray for other people, but that I'm actually living it. But again, the focus isn't on about how many times I'm doing something or what qualifies me to say I actually practice something or I'm becoming something, but it's about your intentions behind what you're portraying. If I say I live this healthy lifestyle and I portray that on my social media or to strangers, I can constantly share videos about self improvement. I can constantly share videos about healthy living, but in real life, I don't actually do the work to improve my life, or I don't buy the groceries that actually give me good and healthy meals. My intentions would be only to portray that lifestyle, to brand myself as successful or healthy or whatever the case may be, whether that makes you feel more included in a certain demographic or you just want to portray a very successful version of yourself in whatever area that may be, whether it's healthy living, money, socially, and that intention can be lost. Instead of actually living out that lifestyle, you brand yourself or adhere to the lifestyle without actually being authentic in it. To kind of close this segment, I want to leave off with the question from this topic about, self improvement and when it becomes performance. But this idea and question, I would hope all young adults or anybody who can relate to this topic, are we really improving ourselves for ourselves or are we branding ourselves? Are we romanticizing our lives inwardly or projecting our romanticized moments or performing our romanticized moments? Lastly, in this section, I want to talk about the cost of performing your life. That can look like burnout from trying to optimize everything, guilt for resting, anxiety when nothing quote unquote exciting in your life is happening, or feeling like your life needs constant momentum in order for it to have value. I feel like we've confused a peaceful life with a boring life. I would like to go in and share a little bit about my personal experience with this topic. I can advocate that I have fallen into the trap of romanticizing my life or performing my life, and the costs of this are real. Even speaking to some of my friends or peers about this idea or just witnessing their lives, you truly see the before and after of these things. For me, I would get stuck in portraying certain things about my life. And those were things that I was actually very passionate about, and I probably did work as hard as I could to live those certain lifestyles. And this looked like different areas of my life. In my early teens, I was really into the gym, and I would make a bunch of content about being into the gym and always going and living this healthy lifestyle. And being at the gym was basically my life. But as I got to college, my responsibilities got a lot more taxing, and I wasn't able to make it to the gym as much, or I wasn't able to make my meal preps or etc. And that lifestyle kind of faded away. I started prioritizing school and whatnot. But in that, I still kind of thought of myself as this gym expert, or even people would come to me about gym advice. And I almost felt like a fraud inwardly because I knew I wasn't really living that lifestyle anymore, but I knew a lot about it per se. And I even could think back to moments of when I still would portray that lifestyle online. And while I don't believe that it was necessarily performative, because exercising and fitness has always been a big thing in my life and it's just looked differently throughout the years, I can say that the burnout from trying to portray something I wasn't is real. Or even just things on social media that I would see, whether it was going to the gym 24/7 or in college. I had to have the perfect study setup to be a good student. I had to have my iced coffee, have my oversized headphones, and go to the library with a group of friends in order for my value of studying to kind of mean something to other people. Or even in my life, I would put value on what I was portraying in my life. And I feel like that for me was something very real that I had to learn the cost of. That if I wasn't constantly doing something or portraying a certain image, that my life felt boring in a sense. It made me feel that if I were to have lived a normal life, that I feel like I would have failed in life, if that makes sense. And I say this, and I've thought about this because I would take social media breaks where I would delete my social media for a week or a month or something. And I did feel this shift of if I'm not allowed to post what I'm doing, then what is the point? And while that might not be a reality for a lot of people, there are still a lot of people who I've talked to or witnessed online or just in my own personal life that is a real struggle. That if I go to a baseball game or I go to a workout class or I go to a cooking class and I'm not able to portray that to somebody, is that really something worth of value? Is it as fun as if I can't share it? Or why do I feel this pressure or need to share the exciting things in my life or what I feel like is aligning to my culture? And I feel like that issue right there kind of robs us from actually experiencing things in life or finding the beauty of those things in our lives. Now, to close that section and kind of shift to the next one, I want to state that romanticizing in itself isn't the villain. Intention is the difference. And you can romanticize your life without performing it. And so, what does that actually look like? To reclaim the idea that intention is the difference and that you can have a romanticizing life without an overly performative one. I want to kind of focus on the idea of romanticizing as noticing things in your life. Um, and I think you can practically practice that by doing habits or practicing habits or doing tasks without performing them. And that can look like doing the hard work to, you know, create a shift in your life of self help, whether that's, sitting down and making a meal plan or setting goals for yourself, or even practically like going on a walk without documenting it or without this need of validation, but you can actually practice those things within yourself. Again, this is not to say that the people who do portray these things are only performative or you shouldn't feel the need to share that aspect of your life. Again, I think it's beautiful that um, in this we can find a mass relation to certain things that we like. As a college student, I do enjoy going to a coffee shop and doing my homework. Um, I will say I did take me a little bit to get there just because I didn't like coffee at the beginning. Um, but that same idea of going to a little coffee shop and getting a cute drink, but sometimes, even in my own life, again, I've felt this pressure to only do homework if I'm at a coffee shop and I have a drink because that's what everyone around me is doing and that's what qualifies as a good study session. And there's nothing wrong with that. I believe that there's many people who genuinely share that same joy and same excitement that I do about getting dressed up cute and finding a nice coffee shop and trying new drinks while doing your homework. That is great. But I think when it becomes your when it changes the value of that or it shifts your value of that, can lead you to a scary place, which is why I encourage you to still romanticize those moments, but maybe self reflect about why you're doing it, your intentions behind it. Is it something you really do enjoy, or you just enjoy because you've been convinced that that is the way to do it? Um, and like I said, for me, I didn't really enjoy coffee for a long time, but I felt this pressure to go to a coffee shop and get a coffee while doing my homework. And it sounds silly, but it's real. Um, just because what I saw from people who were around me doing, or I saw online that that's what you do in college. You go and get a cute drink or whatnot. Um, but to actually practice those practical habits of doing things for yourself to make the mundane and ordinary feel intentional. Give it purpose, give it meaning in your life. Not what other people are telling you to do or what you have seen um, in recent years on social media or whatnot, but live your life and practice some self reflective habits. You know, don't document everything. Maybe take more time in the things that you're doing, do them more slowly, put your phone away. Define those things within your life for you, not aesthetic perfection, not curated routines, just presence. To recap this section, you don't need your life to look like a cinematic movie to know that it's meaningful. Some of the most beautiful parts of my life haven't been the ones that I've posted. They've been the ones that I've worked at and stayed in. I want to encourage you guys to try one thing privately this week, to do something just for you and let it be unseen. Alrighty, thank you guys for listening. I hope that this episode kind of got you to reflect on romanticizing and performing in your life. And if you fall within the category of your 20s or a young adult, I'm sure that that's something that can be a real challenge for a lot of us in thinking about how we want our lives to look. Romanticizing or overly performing them can be a real struggle when you're trying to figure those things out. My hope for this episode is that it allowed you to think about some areas in your life that you may have been performing that you may not even have realized. Um, and I hope that it encourages you not to completely rule out self expression or sharing things on social media, but to truly encourage you to think about the things that you're doing, your intentions, and why you're doing them, and who are you doing them for. And I hope that you can self reflect on those things and take a look at your habits and really root yourself in habits that you enjoy doing for yourself and not just because you think it's aesthetic or it follows to culture or a social platform. that we're not just here to curate perfection, but we're here to live our lives. And for most of us, we're still mostly just figuring that out. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope to see you guys back on the next episode. Thank you.